Welcome to Talk Ottumwa, a production of Greater Ottumwa Partners in Progress. On this podcast, we'll talk about the local businesses in Ottumwa to give you the backstory to their success. We'll also talk about the economic initiatives that are driving the progress of the community, and we'll talk about the issues that the community faces and much more. So stick around and let's talk Ottumwa. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talk Ottumwa. Today we have a really special guest, a great leader for the community of Ottumwa. He is the owner of Financial Partners, and he is also the president of the board of directors for Friends of Ottumwa's Parks. Bob Kramer, welcome to the program, Bob.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the chance to talk to a few people and let others know what's going good in Ottumwa.
Yeah. Speaking of going good, one of the things that's really a bright spot about the city of Ottumwa that a lot of cities don't have in the state of Iowa is an excellent park system. Ottumwa boasts 690-ish acres of parkland, 22 parks, and you have been one of the people that have really driven the forward momentum of the parks over the past several years. Prior to this, you sat on the Parks Commission here in Ottumwa for how many years was that?
It was four years approximately. So I'll just segue over to that, Mark. I was a part of the Parks Board, and we had a number of requests for people who wanted money to do some improvements in the parks, and consistently we were unable to help those folks out because there was no money in the budget. I mean, of all the things that Ottumwa needs, first of all, we need safety. So the safety issue, making sure we have adequate fire department, making sure the police department is taking care of the needs of the citizens, that's the first priority, and I don't disagree with that. But in a small community that kind of struggles financially, then money has to come from other sides of the budget. And the Parks Board struggled with that because, I'll give you an example. We used to have 8 people who would mow the parks. And now we're down to 2. And there are very little funds available for the park system. So I decided about a year and a half or 2 years ago now, that we really needed to focus our efforts on raising money for needs in Ottumwa. There's fantastic parks in in our community. I've been a just about lifelong citizen of Ottumwa, other than teaching business in Webster City, Iowa, but I've lived here most of my life. And as a hometown boy, I think Ottumwa really has 3 real gems in this town. Number 1, I think Indian Hills is one of our gems. Number 2, I'd say the airport is really an underutilized but fantastic facility with great potential. And number 3 is the park system. We have a very green community, beautiful parks. As you mentioned, 22 parks, and there is no better place to be in the summertime than the parks in Ottumwa. So that's my opinion, and that's a hometown boy speaking.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. You were on the Parks Board. You had a little bit of trouble raising money given the type of structure that board was. So the solution was to create a new 501c3, which would be named Friends of Ottumwa's Park, correct?
That's right. It started out at Ottumwa Park and Recreation Foundation, but then to simplify that, Friends of Ottumwa's Parks. It's a lot easier to write checks that way too.
That is true.
We have some great board members. I'm just going to mention their names.
Sure.
The foundation of any organization is its volunteers, and we've got Mark Garner, who has done a fantastic job of working in a capacity to lead we have 2 brand new tree nurseries, and he's got the watering system up and running. We've got Nicolette Proctor and Samantha Euling, both from Southside Bank. Ottumwa South Ottumwa Savings Bank, excuse me. Didn't mean to plug them, but they have been a great corporate leader for us. And Nicolette is our treasurer. Samantha is our secretary. Wes Conrad, who also serves on the board, he acts kind of as a liaison. And Wes has done a fantastic job of creating and helping out with our bike trail over at Memorial Park. Jim Langland, great volunteer, great community leader, and Wes have done a fantastic job of having one of the top 10 bike trails in the state of Iowa. I'm also going to throw in Blair Seams. Blair is an employee at Indian Hills Community College. She leads the foundation there. She is a go-getter from the word go. She is a fantastic leader in her capacity as a foundation director, but she's helped us achieve some grants. We also have a subcommittee, our tennis committee. We're trying to raise money for our brand new tennis courts. Mike McGrory, Superintendent McGrory, is on that committee. Phil Rath, City Administrator. Kim Hellige, who's also been a great foundation cheerleader. She's raised a number of different grants for the school system, and now she's helping out with grants for the Friends of Ottumwa's Parks. So we've got some fantastic volunteers. It doesn't happen without them.
Yeah. And looking at your website, you list all of those people off, and you've only been around for a couple of years now, and you have already gotten a lot under your plate at this point. You list 2 tree nurseries that Friends of Ottumwa Parks has handled.
Yep, that was a $30,000 grant. And I will plug Legacy Foundation. They assisted us in getting that the seed money, if you will. Pardon the pun, but the seed money to get the tree nursery up and running. And they've helped us out with other projects. So you may know this, but the shower house over at the campgrounds, they've helped us out with that. We've raised money for that project. The tennis courts, we've got $1.5 million committed to that. It's probably going to be about a $2.3 million project. We've got some money from individual citizens that have come in, but we just found out what the location is, and you really can't sell a deal if you don't have the location.
Absolutely.
And
not.
So we're having a meeting this week with our tennis committee to kind of discuss what the next step, the next strategy in raising those funds. There's a lot of other things. We've had a Park of the Month gig, which Samantha and Nicolette have been in charge of. That's been a fun project. They've had different trivia contests in the parks, and Ottumwa Parks has a great history. So, it boils down to having really great volunteers. Gene Rathje has been on board. He's the park director. I suggested that we convert underutilized tennis courts, one located at Bell Park and the other at Memorial Park. You've driven by those places, and you never see people playing tennis. They're decrepit. The asphalt is cracking. The nets are sagging. So we are converting those, repurposing them, if you will, into pickleball courts. And pickleball is extremely popular all around the country. And we, again, received a partial grant from the Legacy Foundation. I also mentioned the Wapello County Foundation. So we are aggressively seeking funds to make Ottumwa a better place to live. And while I'm saying that, I'll plug our mission. Our mission is to enhance and beautify Ottumwa's parks and enrich the lives of the people who enjoy them. I couldn't have done any of this without the volunteers. They have just been fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And their resumes show with all the work that's been done. You mentioned what the impact is on the community for the parks. And we just had a discussion before we came on to the air about really how that really fits into the picture of the city of Ottumwa, or any community, really.
Sure.
In order to attract people, in order to attract business, one of the things that people look at is the quality of life amenities, and arguably the best quality of life amenity is outdoor space. So while a lot of people believe that, we could be wasting money or we could be better utilizing money by not investing in parks, I think that to some certain degree, the hens have come home to roost in some respects in the city of Ottumwa, because we have seen a decline in the population, and there is no small coincidence to the fact that the city of Ottumwa 15 years ago had 22 parks employees. Now we have 5. We haven't invested money into the parks in the last 2 decades, and we have seen a decline in population. Would you mind talking about that just a little bit?
Sure, Mark. I appreciate you mentioning that. Some people may know I play disc golf as a hobby, and we have invested significant money and time. Again, volunteers. We've had 25 volunteers 2 years ago when Friends of Ottumwa Parks was first established, to put in brand new tee pads, brand new layout of Wildwood Park, and that park is being used tremendously. I mean, I can tell you, it may seem like a little thing. We're also modifying Memorial Park, and we're putting in brand new baskets. The process is starting this week. So between those two places that people play disc golf, we have a third very nice course, which also is in need of modification. It was 20 years ago we put together Indian Hills disc golf course. So those 3 disc golf courses, let me just say, if we have significant tournaments, I'm talking like an Iowa State Championship that is headquartered here in Ottumwa, and we have that for 3 days, and there's 200 to 300 players that come to compete, spending hundreds of thousands. That multiplies itself many times over. I go to a competitive tournament in Peoria, and they have 1,800 players staying for 5 days in Peoria, which brings in about $10 million to the community. So when we talk about a vision of where we see Ottumwa, we see attractions, we see opportunities. Tennis courts. Our tennis courts are deplorable, and Mark Hansen will attest to that. He coached the tennis program for a number of years. It's actually quite dangerous, and they don't compete at the old Ottumwa Park anymore. They it's unbelievable. I hate saying this, but the Ottumwa Invitational was played in Fairfield. Isn't that sad? So we're going to really put the thrust on getting quality tennis courts that are concrete, not asphalt that cracks so easily. We want really good quality post-tension concrete courts, 12 courts located at Sycamore Park, and we want to be able to attract tournaments. We want to have an Ottumwa Invitational. We want to have adult learning opportunities and children's learning opportunities. These things can multiply themselves many times if you have quality facilities. Just think, if we had quality baseball and softball facilities, how many thousands of people would come to Ottumwa, because that is where Oski and Grinnell and Fairfield shine. They have great facilities, and they bring in tens of thousands of people every year. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the motels and hotels and gas and grocery stores are having new dollars from outside the community contribute. And as you know, I think a dollar multiplies itself at least 2.5, maybe 3 times every time you have an event that brings people in. So that's what one of my visions is really to make Ottumwa an attractive place to participate in activities, outdoor activities specifically, but our hiking trails and our bike trails. We have a beautiful park system we've got to take advantage of. And I've spent the better part of my childhood in parks, whether it's baseball or disc golf or playing softball in the church softball league. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here, and we can bring more and more people into our community by really investing in something that people enjoy doing.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the tennis courts going over to Sycamore Park, which is really a good strategic location at this point, considering the fact that not only is the beach over connected to that, but also the design work for the new sports complex is there as well. So this will really kind of tie that whole thing in together, especially from a tourism standpoint, when you consider that Cobblestone Hotel is going up right across the street. So when we do bring some of those tournaments into town, these people will be in walking proximity to the downtown district, all of the sporting events, all of the leisure events, because there is an underpass going over to Ottumwa Park. So the positioning for this tennis court is actually really good.
Mm-hmm. Well, certainly we all know about a synergistic effect if you have multiple things for people to do. So if you have a swim meet and people are looking for things to do, why not play tennis? Or why not go and enjoy one of the local parks? Or why not have a nice meal at a brand new hotel that sports a beautiful bar and dinner menu? I mean, why not multiply the opportunity for people to enjoy a fresh look of Ottumwa and bringing dollars and people into our town, and people having a very favorable impression when they go back to their hometown? That is an issue. And we've all known people who come to Ottumwa and see our cracked sidewalks and our curbs that are busted up, and the weeds growing in between, the center lane of 63. I mean, there's lots of things that we need improvement on. What we need dollars to come in. The more dollars come into our community, the more money that the city will have to fix some of these streets and sidewalks and sewers and signage and lots of things that could be improved upon if we have attractive features of our community to bring people in and give them a good time.
Yeah. And that's really what's important, from a tourism aspect, is we do bring people in, we show them a good time. That helps in making sure that, number one, they come back. Number two, if they are looking for a new community to live in, having that positive impact right out of the gate helps them. If Ottumwa is someplace that they're considering, it helps solidify that decision for them. From our community's standpoint, it's really important that everybody understands the power of tourism, because as you mentioned earlier, having those new dollars come into the community really helps not only the local businesses, but it also helps offset some of the costs that we have through local option sales tax, hotel motel tax. It really helps fund a lot of things that if we didn't have any of that tourism at all, or a drastic reduction in that tourism, the citizens of Ottumwa themselves would be paying for that. So the more of it we have coming in, the less that the citizens of Ottumwa actually have to pay for.
Yeah, and I guess I've when I really thought about the vision of Ottumwa and the parks, I thought of so many things, and I wrote down maybe 20 or 30 things that we could be. We are beautifying Ottumwa's physical appearance. There are more people from all walks of life utilizing our parks. Each park is adopted by a neighborhood group, a church in the area, or a volunteer group. The city of Ottumwa is growing and gaining population in part because of the quality of life that is enhanced by our park system. More positive community events are hosted, and people from a 90-mile radius come to visit Ottumwa because of these events. Our Ottumwa Park, the largest and most visible park, has developed a kind of sports complex that is the envy of other towns in our size, and thousands of visitors come to Ottumwa for the events held in Ottumwa Park. We are a host of national and world PDGA events. That stands for the Professional Disc Golf Association.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Because of increased revenue and healthy balance sheet, the Parks Department can afford to hire more employees to take care of the parks. Mowing, snow removal, trash pickup, maintenance, and repair are easily afforded because of increased revenue to our city. Community volunteers are easily found to help improve the looks and safety of our parks. And by the way, I want to mention this. The Bridge Church, 2 weeks ago, they have a service day once a month. And I was part of that service group, which we focused my efforts on the tree nurseries. They had over 200 volunteers at different locations around Ottumwa. So again, it's the volunteers that make this happen. And community volunteers are easily found to help improve the looks and safety, and then hopefully more tree nurseries to replace diseased and damaged and weather-ridden trees. I mean, we need to, that derecho may not have affected us directly when Cedar Rapids got hit, but it does affect us when we want to buy trees because there's such a shortage.
Oh, yeah.
And the big mature trees are just not available except for a very high price. And then the maintenance equipment is new, better quality, and well maintained. The Beach Ottumwa has expanded and includes a lazy river and education programs throughout the year. The Friends collaborate with schools in the county on several projects. Elementary, junior high, and high school children all have opportunities to get involved and beautify our parks. Earth Day, Community Park Day, Planting Day. And Friends Committee has a regular cadre of 100 volunteers to work on and prepare for community events, and our website is hit by thousands of people. Those are just a few vision statements that I thought, why not us? Why not be better?
Exactly.
Why not be the envy of anybody in our area? And we have that ability. We just have to change our attitude and really focus on the positives. We have a great many great people in this community that are enthusiastic, love our community, and are friendly and kind. And they're not hard to find.
No. And that is one of the things that I have said for a long time about the city of Ottumwa. Say what you will about Ottumwa, one way or the other. It doesn't matter. One of the things that really stands out for this community is the volunteerism. It's really something that should be in awe from other communities because we have some of the best volunteerism that I could possibly imagine. You mentioned the Bridge Church, 200 volunteers in a single day. That is absolutely amazing. We look at Main Street Ottumwa, for example. The volunteerism that they have is amazing. We just have a community of people that care, and it shines in so many ways, and the parks is just one example of that. One of the things that you mentioned a little while ago, Bob, if I can back up just a little bit, and I remember this from my other hat on Ottumwa City Council, is the pickleball courts.
Mm-hmm.
There was a discussion about the concrete for tennis courts versus the concrete or asphalt, whatever you want to say, for the pickleball courts. And the conversation was had about why can't we just resurface the tennis courts, and there's a different type of concrete that has to be used. Can you talk about why the pickleball courts can be basically refurbished from tennis courts, and it's cheaper to do that than it is to move and build new tennis courts on top of those?
Sure. So one of the problems with Ottumwa Park's tennis courts is this. The USTA recommends between 4 and 8 inches of asphalt when you put asphalt on for tennis courts. Back in the day when the Dan Staggs courts were established, we chose a minimum of 4 inches for those courts. And those courts, over 5 decades, maybe going on, this is the 6th decade of those tennis courts. They are cracked, and they have enough space to put your foot in some of those cracks, and they're irreparable. They're beyond repair. Some of the older facility tennis courts had a much deeper amount of asphalt that was put in, and so Gene Rathje looked at the courts and said, hey, we can resurface these, repurpose them, and create pickleball courts. And I said, yeah, that makes all the sense in the world, especially since it's neighborhood. So we're looking at the Bell Park neighborhood and the Memorial Park neighborhood as two places that will have 2 courts each, repurposing a tennis court that's not used and is in kind of disrepair and putting it into a pickleball court, which is useful, and by resurfacing it, by putting new pickleball netting, and then chain link fence surrounding the court, so when the ball goes, out of bounds, it's easily retrievable. It'll be great. I mean, the neighborhoods will pick up on it, and it wouldn't surprise me if pickleball in this community really took off. My sister in Minneapolis plays pickleball on a regular basis, and there are pickleball leagues. I've gone down to Columbia, Missouri, and there's more people on the pickleball courts than there are on the tennis courts, and their tennis courts are lovely. I mean, they have very good amenities at one of the parks, and so pickleball is taking off. It's a game for old and young, as competitive as you want to be or not as competitive. It's a little slower paced game, but if you get good athletes on there, it can be very, very intense. So I'm excited about bringing pickleball into Ottumwa, and if it does take off, which I think it will, I would see us putting brand new pickleball court facility, maybe adjacent to where we're looking for the maybe the tennis courts, or across the river by our new baseball softball fields.
That would be great.
Yeah, we hope new baseball softball fields.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
we will
get
there.
That's right.
Which really brings us to the next topic that I would really like to cover just a second. You've been involved somewhat in the parks plan that is coming up from a perspective of, hey, here's kind of what would be good here in Ottumwa. What do you think about the future of the Ottumwa parks and how the community is actually utilizing the parks?
Mark, I think it goes back to the quality of life, and Ottumwa has a mixed population that we have people from lower to middle income economic background, and they can have just as much fun at a park as people who come from a upper to higher income level. So people from all walks of life come together as a community to these to our park system. What ideally I could see as a vision is our largest park, Ottumwa Park, and putting it in the forefront as having a quality baseball softball complex where you get tournaments every weekend during the nice months, but across the way having a quality music and band venue that people can enjoy music from. We could draw people from 50 to 70 miles if you get good quality names. There's no reason that we can't have a quality bandstand and people sitting on the grass and enjoying wonderful music from whether it's rhythm and blues or jazz or bluegrass. I mean, we got a big bluegrass following in this area. So I could see us using Ottumwa Park as the center point for drawing people from, maybe 100 miles away, maybe as far as Des Moines and Burlington and Columbia, Missouri. But I could see that would be the center point of Ottumwa's parks, making it good quality, good music, acoustics. And then in addition to that, they could enjoy time at the beach where we could expand the beach, build that doggone lazy river that we've talked about for over a decade, and make that area a nice sports complex 365 days a year. The nice indoor pool we have, the sports complex that Brian Morgan is spearheading. I mean, there's so much potential that we have. And just to see people coming into town, spending money, enjoying their time in Ottumwa, and then going back to their own home community and talking in a favorable light of our fair community. That's the vision I see.
Okay. Well, part of that vision, obviously, and you touched on it just a little bit earlier, we talked a little bit about it, is the volunteers. How is it, if somebody wants to volunteer, how do they get in touch to make that happen, and what opportunities are there for volunteers?
That's a great question. We have the vision of subcommittees for Friends of Ottumwa's Parks. So, for example, one of the things I would love to see is neighborhoods adopting their park, making it look beautiful all year round, maybe adding amenities that are would appeal to the people in that park, have them pick up, clean up, weed whack, and fix some of the things that are dilapidated or rusting or looking not as favorable as we would like. So a neighborhood, calling either Nicolette Proctor at South Ottumwa Savings Bank or myself at Financial Partners. I'd be happy to give you our telephone numbers if they'd be interested. So a branding committee. So what is Ottumwa's brand? Are we an outdoor community? Are we making it available for our beautiful bike trail, the trails system? Kim Hellige has been a wonderful advocate of our trails, and she would love to see more volunteers to assist in making sure our trail system in Ottumwa, there's miles and miles of trails that could be used. Biking is so popular. I mean, that would be another volunteer opportunity within the Friends. And we want events. I mean, I envision, as I mentioned before, large groups of people coming to Ottumwa for maybe a statewide softball, baseball tournament. And I know the folks, this is a baseball crazy, softball crazy town.
It is.
We're very successful in that magnitude and having more volunteers. I know they need volunteers to make sure that the baseball fields look nice, making sure we have adequate umpiring and that they're licensed and understand the rules, and making it a positive opportunity, not just having mom and dad yell at their kid, why aren't you playing my kid? Having a more positive vibe, like, okay, good job, guys, way to go. And I think there's a lot of volunteer subsets that we could pursue within the Ottumwa Park system.
Okay.
And I know Gene Rathje could probably, I think, and this is another thing, I have this vision of our tree nurseries. We purposefully put them in the school district. We have one at Liberty School and one at James School. And so far we've had the kids help plant the trees. We have 200 trees planted out there. But I would like to see that become more of an arboretum where we could have annual flowering plants that we could transplant into the schools and into the city of Ottumwa. I'd love to double the amount of space that we have for trees and flowering. This is a green community. Holy cow, we have so much green all around our community, and I think that's a point of emphasis. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that those two nurseries are next to elementary schools, primarily for the fact, aside from the beauty of it, it's an excellent opportunity for those children that are going through those schools to really get a up close and personal understanding of nature and what it is to take care of your community and Mother Nature.
That's right. Well, we have a vision of involving Wapello County Conservation Commission, the DNR, having annual plantings, develop a pot-in-pot system where you put a pot into the ground. Once it becomes mature, you pull it out, and then you plant another tree or flowering plant, and so you'll basically be able to double and triple the amount of trees that are within that nursery.
Okay.
And so then, once you've done that, you can start planting trees annually throughout the community. And I'd love it to be a laboratory of sorts, a biological laboratory for our school children to learn more about nature and the value of planting. Because, once you get kids involved in nature and in planting trees, you plant trees for the rest of your life. You appreciate nature for the rest of your life. You start picking up trash for the rest of your life. I remember Earth Day. We picked up trash when I was in 5th grade, and I pick up trash to this day. And I mean, it's just part of our vernacular.
And you have led that effort through the Rotary Club, actually doing highway cleanups. So that has stuck with you.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more to do.
Yeah.
That's a lot more to do.
What is it that you would really like the people of Ottumwa to know about Friends of Ottumwa's Parks?
Well, I would encourage people to get involved, and as you know, there's a lot of projects that we have going on right now, and projects need two things: they need volunteers and they need money. If a person can't volunteer, we are a 501c3, so businesses can make a contribution and be able to deduct that off of their taxes, as well as people who contribute beyond their standard deduction. The deduction we have, every one of our projects involve volunteers and donations. That's it. That's pretty cool. When you have we've had a half a dozen projects. We're making things better in Ottumwa. And every one of the projects involves volunteers and it involves donations by people who care. And you can do it either way. I know Gene Rathje is very passionate about making Ottumwa better, but he's shorthanded. Yeah. So we're going to try to assist the park system in making this an attractive, appealing, and a better place to enrich the lives of our citizens and the people who visit Ottumwa.
Good. Speaking of donations, I would be remiss to mention that not only can you take donations face-to-face, obviously, but there's an easy way for people to give donations to Friends of Ottumwa's Parks also. On your website, friendsofottumwasparks.com, there actually is a donate button that redirects to a secure donation portal. So if there is anybody out there listening to this that really wants to be a part of this moving forward, that wants to make sure, at least financially, that they can help however they can, please get onto the friendsofottumwasparks.com website. Right at the top, it's very convenient. It says donate. Please, if you have the available resources, if this is something that you're passionate about, donate to it. And I'm assuming you have a Facebook page as well. Does the donate feature work from Facebook, or at least a redirect to the site? Yes,
it does. And then people who like to do it the old-fashioned way, writing a check, we do accept checks. So the check would go to Friends of Ottumwa's Parks, care of Nicolette Proctor at South Ottumwa Savings Bank. I think that's 320 Church Street.
That is correct. 320
Ottumwa,
Church
Iowa.
Street.
Yes. Nicolette is in charge of donations, and if you have a specific project, a memorial, we would love to see a memorial project, park benches, if you wanted park benches. Now, I know that the city has very specific codes of what kind of a park bench that they'd like, but if you have a person that you cared about, that you love, and you want to have a memorial for that person, you can do that too through Friends of Ottumwa's Parks. Trees or park, benches, or, other things we can do. We got to be creative, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, Bob, I want to thank you for coming in today. This has been a good talk. I think that the more people that know everything about the parks, maybe there's some things that they didn't know existed. For example, the disc golf courses, they might not have known that was available to them. So I want to thank you for coming in and enlightening us on that. I want to thank you for all the work that you've done for our community. You've been a huge asset to the city of Ottumwa. So I don't think that I could end this without saying thank you from the people of Ottumwa for everything that you've done.
Is it how do you raise a child? It takes a
village.
It takes a village. So we got some great people helping out, and very blessed. Yeah. We're a very blessed community that way.
Yep. All right. Well, everybody, please consider volunteering for Friends of Ottumwa's Parks. Please consider donating if you have available resources. Again, thank you, Bob, for coming in today.
Oh, you're entirely welcome, Mark. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. So everybody, stick around for the next available episode of Talk Ottumwa.